Hello and welcome to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you. Yes, no intro, no anything of that nature because, well, the episode that did make air, due to some technical difficulties, wasn't recorded, so this is going to be an abbreviated, brief recap as to what all happened. Well, Lucas and I were at the MFPW Arena. We had manager of the Beast Cartel, Rico de la Vega. He joined us on the program, and things, I think, got a little bit too hot to handle, and I believe that's part of why the episode somehow came up missing. But some other news to get into. Suspended WWE wrestler who was arrested. Also, Triple H signing a new wrestler deal. A couple of notable WWE cuts. WWE also releasing their first quarter financial numbers. And TNA announcing a live Slammiversary pay-per-view. And a judge is going to determine whether a WWE Hall of Famer is fit to stand trial. And I bet you were wondering how much a speaking engagement with John Cena costs. Well, I've got that coming up for you as well. Gonna not even worry about the sponsors in this case. So we're gonna keep things real super simple here. So you know the deal: George's Cards and Collectibles, Broken Goblet Brewery, and the MFPW. There we go. We got all those out of the way. Well, Adam Rose, currently serving a 60-day suspension for his second WWE wellness policy violation, was arrested this past week on charges of battery, domestic violence, and tampering with a witness. WWE issuing a statement regarding the arrest, saying, quote, WWE has zero tolerance for matters involving domestic violence, and per our policy, Raymond LePan has been suspended indefinitely following his arrest. End quote. Raymond LePan, of course, the real name of Adam Rose. TMZ reporting that Rose appeared in a Florida court on Thursday following the arrest, and that the judge wanted to issue a restraining order, but Rose's wife begged the court to reconsider, noting that the couple has a special needs child who requires both parents. The judge brought up a previous domestic incident in March, but ultimately held off on the restraining order. In other news, WWE has re-signed Paul Triple H Levesque to a 3-year contract as a wrestler. The new agreement will roll over each year after it expires unless either party terminates the deal. Levesque will be paid a $1 million downside guarantee, though he has made more than that every single year. Couple of notable WWE cuts. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter reporting that WWE has released Christian from his talent contract. Christian hasn't wrestled in over 2 years, last winning a fatal 4-way match against Alberto Del Rio, Sheamus, and Dolph Ziggler back in March of 2014. Christian has a separate deal for the Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness on the WWE Network. WWE also released longtime employee Steve Lombardi, who wrestled most notably as the Brooklyn Brawler, according to Mike Johnson of PWInsider.com. Lombardi worked behind the scenes for WWE for many years. TNA, they went and announced the Slammiversary pay-per-view, their annual anniversary celebration and honoring pay-per-view event, will be held Sunday, June 12th in Orlando, Florida at Universal Studios, and that they will also be taping television shows at the same location June 13th to 15th, including a live edition of Impact on Tuesday, June 14th. Now, WWE, going back to them for a moment, revealed its 2016 first quarter financial results on Tuesday, and the company reported a net income of $13.9 million compared to a $9.8 million net income in the first quarter of 2015. Vince McMahon stating in a press release, quote, "Our strong performance in the first quarter reflected the successful execution of our content strategy. The sustained year-over-year growth of WWE Network, the global consumption of our video content across all platforms, and the recent record-breaking attraction of WrestleMania demonstrate the increasing strength of our brands. We believe we can continue to leverage these strengths to drive long-term growth." Lots of corporate money speak. Speaking of speaking, ICM Partners lists WWE's John Cena for potential speaking engagements. The talent agency lists Cena's accomplishments, including being the face of WWE, along with his acting roles and work with Make-A-Wish. Cena's asking price through the agency for a 45-minute speech with a 15-minute Q&A session is $100,000. This compared to Stephanie McMahon, whose fee is $50,000 through the WME IMG speakers. And finally, a judge is going to determine whether a WWE Hall of Famer is fit to stand trial. Lehigh County, Pennsylvania County Judge Kelly Bannock began hearing testimony to determine whether Jimmy Superfly Snuka is competent to stand trial. Dr. Frank M. DiTilio, a psychologist hired by Snuka's defense, said that Snuka is, quote, a shell of a man and is, quote, worsening by the month due to dementia. DiTilio went on to say that Snuka is unable to understand the legal process. Snuka, of course, charged with third-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter in the 1983 death of his then-girlfriend, Nancy Argentino. Quick notes of some things on today in wrestling history. From May 14, 1995, the WWF held its In Your House pay-per-view, where in the main event, WWF World Heavyweight Champion Diesel defeated Psycho Sid by disqualification. Also in 2000 on this date, ECW's Hardcore Heaven pay-per-view occurred. In the main event, Just Incredible pinned Lance Storm to retain the ECW Heavyweight Championship. In 2001, WWF Monday Night Raw aired live from Cincinnati, Ohio, and in the main event, Kane defeated Steve Austin and Triple H by disqualification in a handicap tag team match. Finally, in 2006 on this date, TNA's Sacrifice pay-per-view occurred. In the main event, Christian Cage defeated Abyss in a Full Metal Mayhem match to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Quick look at birthdays. We've got 6 of them. On this date in 1938, Paul Vachon was born. The former AWA Tag Team Champion known as Paul the Butcher Vachon turned 78 today. On this date in 1951, Robert Welsh was born. The former wrestler and manager known as Robert Fuller and Colonel Robert Parker turned 65 today. On this date in 1952, Scott Irwin was born. The former WWF Tag Team Champion known as Yukon Lumberjack Eric and one half of the Super Destroyers died in 1987 at the age of 35 from a brain tumor. On this date in 1955, Leon Allen White was born. That name should sound familiar. The former 3-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion known as Vader turns 61 today. On this date in 1960, Stephen Williams was born. The former multi-time tag team champion known as Dr. Death Steve Williams passed away in 2009 at the age of 49 from throat cancer. And finally, on this date in 1985, Matthew Cardona was born. The former WWE Intercontinental Tag Team US and Unsanctioned Internet Champion known as Zack Ryder turns 31 today. Woo, 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 you know it. That's going to do it here. Apologies for the lack of full content, and we'll be back next week with more Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.